What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pro Tools course. We got week 4 today, and today we're going to look into the I/O, and then we're going to go from there and go into Pro Tools, and I'm going to show you how to set up buses. So kind of going to talk about routing a little bit today, but let's jump into this I/O setup of Pro Tools. All right, so this is our I/O in Pro Tools. The way to get to this is when you click on Pro Tools up here at the top, where you can open up the file settings, edit, view, track, all of this over here. If you click over here to setup and you click I/O, this is what's going to pop up. The I/O, in my opinion, is probably one of the most confusing parts of Pro Tools, but this is kind of going to be like the layout of your inputs and buses and your outputs in the session, right? So I'm going to break this down the simplest way possible that I know how. And let's just start with over here at the far left where it says input. So input is going to be basically our mics. So the reason I have 2 already right here is just because I'd never run more than 2 mics at a time. If you have multiple mics and you have more than 2, then you can create. The way to do that is to go down here, click new path, 1, mono mic, depending on what type of microphone it is, but in this case I'm just using my mic to record vocals, mono. You could name it, we'll do input 3 because I already have a 1 and 2. So we can do this right here, click create, and you can see how it's here and it's been put on analog track 1. I have an Apollo interface, so that is kind of going with the, how would I say it, like the settings of my Apollo. And I guess I could show you if you have an Apollo. Here is my Apollo console, UAD console. And, where'd it go? Let me see. All right, so here it is, right? If I click on this and I go up here to UAD console and I click preferences, this is going to pull up. And your console on the UAD also has its own I/O. And the I/O is pretty much just the mapping, right? And my first 2 slots on here are empty. The reason for that being is because I went to I/O presets, went here. It's not going to let me do it since Pro Tools is open, but basically I selected what Apollo I have, which is pretty important. It's something I never knew until recently when I switched my Apollo. But I selected what Apollo I have, which is a single Apollo, an 8XP, and I'm using Pro Tools. So that's what I had selected. And this automatically pops up like this, where the first 2 were blank. And this kind of threw me for a loop, and I had issues with this whenever I switched my interface, because before I switched, these weren't blank. So it started like mic 1 was on channel 1, which now I switched my interface. Now that now mic 1 is on channel 3. So all in all, to say that, let me show you. Well, I guess I could leave this right here, but or it's going to disappear. But so this is my mic that's in my booth. Basically, it was here. And when I switched it, technically it needed to be here. And so when they were talking in the booth or whatever, nothing was coming up, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't working. And that was the reason, because it had moved. So you want to make sure whatever interface you're using, make sure the I/Os are the same and you have your, what channel input, everything is set to. But it said on there, and let me show it again, it says that mic 1, which is my booth mic, is channel 3. And so if I go over here, my booth mic, input 1, should be on channel 3, right? This is the one we just created. That was kind of just for me to show you. Let me delete that. But yeah, mine starts at 3 and 4. And before I switched, they were actually 1 and 2. So if you do run into that issue, that is how to solve that. If you're using an Apollo, if you're using something else, more than likely if you're using like a Scarlett or the Apollo Twin or Apollo Solo, you're probably starting on 1 and 2. But in case it's not working, this is definitely something you could check out. So let's go to output. Output is literally just your output. Like, so I only have one. Some people have multiple outputs going, maybe multiple pairs of speakers that they're wanting to, send the session out to this output and something else out to another output. But I just have one output. It's stereo, and that's it. You can go down here to new path and you can create more. And let's see, we've got buses. So I'm pretty much not using that many buses, but for someone that's trying to create a template, if you're, I guess, just starting or would like more, I've wiped mine and created this myself, but you can, like, when you go into a Pro Tools session, which I can start one real quick. Let me do that, and I can show you. Let's just do new. Let's put this here. We'll just do new. And while that's opening, oh well. All right, so, and we got this here. Let me open back up the, or actually let me do this. Let me just create a track real quick. Right, so if you have a track and you go to, I don't know, let's say you wanted to route this track to a bus. You're going to go to bus, and you're going to see that this is what's in my IO, right? It matched. So let's look at the IO again. Make sure you can see both. You saw what was on there is literally what's right here. So let's say let's say for some reason all of these get used, and you're like, well, damn, I don't have any more. Well, that's where the IO comes in. Oh, wrong thing. This is where the IO comes in, and you can just create more. So do you want mono buses? Do you want stereo buses? It's gonna depend on what you're doing, but to explain it easiest, if you're doing reverbs and delays and effects and stuff like that, they're gonna be in stereo. Let's say we need 3 more, and you've used all of those already. You can, boom, create 3 more, and you can go in and name them if you want or whatever. But yeah, so you created 3 more, and if you hit OK, you go in here and it's like, boom, there they are right there. So that is kind of what you do if when you start a new session, it should have more than this. This is just how mine looks. But if there's not enough there, or it doesn't look how you want, I mean, you could wipe it and build it from scratch however you want. And yeah, so that's how you're going to create more buses here in the IO. So you've got that. And so this is a whole Dolby Atmos section. If you don't know what Dolby Atmos is, it is basically mixing music in spatial audio. So in other words, to dumb it down, it's like mixing in 3D, which that's what it is. But up here, you've got this section that connects to your renderer that's on your computer. And all of basically here is where you create all of the objects and buses and sends and stuff in a Dolby Atmos session. That is a whole nother situation, but basically where it says bus and how we did all this is kind of where you do it for Dolby Atmos. As far as, let's see, inserts are going to be like, let me pull up the console again. Let me move this here. Oh, let's see. Well, actually, it's not letting me pull it up. All right. Well, basically, basically I have some outboard gear that I could use like on a track where I would actually, it's connected to an insert, and I would put this insert on a track, and then I would use my outboard gear to mix with. And that's kind of what these inserts are, and there's a lot of them. You do have to have some type of outboard gear to link to this, and you can do that through your console if it's connected to your interface or whatever. And yeah, so that is kind of what that's for. I've never used this mic preamps. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this is, and the HW insert delay, I've never used it and never seen it do anything, so I'm not sure what that is. But that is kind of a easy walkthrough of the I/O, and I'm gonna quickly show you guys how to set up, kind of do some routing. So let's just look at a couple of main ones, right? So you got an audio track, cool. Let's say you want to route it to a bus. Okay. There's two ways to do this, which would be, one, you could create an aux track, a stereo aux track, aux input, like that, right? And then on the input, you tell it what bus you want it to occupy. Let's just say bus 23, right? So this aux becomes bus 23. And let's say you want to route this track to this aux. Well, if it's bus 23, you're going to route the output of this track to bus 23. So now this bus is controlling the volume of the track, and also whatever plugins you do on here will affect whatever is on this track. So that's one way to do it, and I'll show you there's another way to do it, which you basically let me set that back, where you basically go here, you go to output, you go to new track, and it's kind of the same thing. It's just a slight different workaround, you know. So you do that, yeah, and you just put, I don't know, whatever bus, mix bus, vocal bus, reverb bus, whatever. It's there, and then it's automatically routed to it. That's the two different ways to do that. In this case, this is how you would do like a vocal bus or something. If you wanted to route and do like a reverb send, you could do an aux track, an aux input, stereo aux input. This is how we would make a send for our reverb, right? So we would name this reverb or whatever you want it to be. We would slap some reverb on here, right? We would adjust it, keep the wet dry all the way up, do all this fun stuff, create the reverb how we want, whatever. And this needs to occupy a bus, just like the so-called vocal bus that we kind of just created, where we routed the track to the bus. It doesn't have to be a vocal bus, by the way. You know, you can route vocals to a bus and call it a vocal bus. You can route instruments to a bus and call it your guitar bus, you know, whatever. But the point of a bus is just to kind of control whatever you've routed to it. But this is a bus as well. This is more of an effect bus, which is just my way of explaining it. An effect bus, where this is a reverb or a delay or an effect, some sort of effect that you're wanting to send to a track, right? So you put the reverb on here. This needs to occupy a bus. You select the bus, and you can also right click on it and rename it if you wanted to name it reverb or something like that. And so then to use this reverb on this vocal track, right? Let's just say we got vocals all on here. Kind of looks like this. We got vocals on here, right? go over to the sends right here. So you can see right here, inserts, insert sends. And if you want to add more, you can go here and add more sends. But go to the sends, click here, or click on a send. Go to bus, and then you can see bus 26 is being used, which in that case is the reverb that we just created. If it was labeled, it'd be easier to see, but that's what we have it set to. And then once the vocals are playing, you can raise this up, and it will be sending, which is why it's called a send. It will be sending that effect to the vocals. So if you turn it way up, the reverb is going to sound big and crazy, whatever. But the point is to bring it up, adjust the reverb how you want, and then bring it down to a good level where you're comfortable and you like it, whatever sounds best. So that's kind of how to create a effect track, as we could say. We'll call it an effect track. So to create a mix bus, and let me explain what a mix bus is real quick. A mix bus is an aux input or a bus that controls the overall mix of your song, right? And what you would end up sending to this bus would be all the other. Well, if it's a 2-track, here's the difference in this. If it's a 2-track, and you just have like your track beat, and then you have your vocals, and then vocal buses and effects and stuff, you will send the 2-track. And I can give you this scenario. Let's just say, actually it can't be this. Your 2-track beat would end up being, your 2-track beat would end up being a stereo file, right? Boom, stereo file, the beat's on here, cool. And then let's just say we've got 5 mono audio tracks. Let's say those are the audio tracks. And then we have all of these audio tracks routed to a vocal bus. And what we could do, like we said earlier, also I selected them all at the same time by clicking one, hold shift and click the bottom one. That'll select them all. And then if you hold shift and option, you can click the output, go to new track, and we'll just call this vocal bus. And it should send, I don't know why I put it in the middle, but it should send all of these. As you can see, it sent all of these to the vocal bus, which is this, right? And then, so we've got our beat track, we've got our audio tracks of vocals, and we got a vocal bus that's controlling all of these. And then let's say we've got, I'm just going to make some up. Let's see. Make these stereo, make these aux inputs. Let's do reverb as a track. And then we got delay. And then we have some other type of effect, right? And let's just, for color sake, or for visual sake, let's make it a different color. And then these are all routed to, their own buses, right? So let's just pick some buses, whatever. All right, so they each have their own bus, whatever. In this case, for a mix bus and control, a mix bus is kind of what you're going to use to control the whole song. So like if you have your entire mix and you're wanting to do some EQ or compression on the entire mix, whatever you're wanting to do to the whole song, almost like a master, because a lot of people think when you master, that's controlling the whole song, which in the case it is also, but this is to deal with the entire mix. But yeah, so what we're going to do is actually click on the beat track, hold command, click on the vocal bus, and click on these. So we have all these selected. All of our buses, which is controlling the song, on top of our beat track. We can hit shift option, and then on one of them, click here, new track, just like we did earlier, mix bus, and boom. So then we have a mix bus here, which whatever you do on this is going to control the whole mix. It's going to control the beat, the vocals, the effects. It's going to control everything. So that's how we're going to do that. And so that's a great way to explain it. The other way would be, let me delete this. Let's just say we're doing full stem, right? Full stem, like a full stem mix where you've got all the beat tracks, Let's just say there's 10 of them because it's going to look more like this. Let's just say they're all stereo and they're all this color. Let's just say these are all the beat stems, whatever. And then let's say that you want to route them all to one bus. Like I want a beat bus that controls the whole beat, You make a aux track that has all of these routed to the beat, right? And maybe like you're like, hey, these first 4 are drums and I want them to have their own bus. You can do that. So you can shift option, hold here, new track, drums, boom. All right. So when you do something like that, you got to remember this is your beat bus controlling the whole beat. This is supposed to control the drums, but then you have to route this to the beat. If that makes sense. So now, this is controlling the drums, but then if you're still trying to control the whole beat, this is controlling all of these and the drum bus, aka all of the drums. But to make a mix bus with this, you got to make sure you add the buses from from the beat. So you end up sending the beat track, because this has control over all of the beat. The vocal bus, and all of these. And then you would send these to a mix bus, and you'd create a mix bus. And that would control the whole beat because all of the beat tracks are routed to this aux right here. It would control the vocal bus as well because all the vocals are routed to this bus and the effects, and it'd all be controlled on one track. So that's kind of how I like to explain the routing and the I/O, and hopefully it made sense. It does get a little confusing, especially when something's messed up and not working and you're sitting there having to try to go through everything and figure it out. It gets really complicated and really annoying really quickly, and it's the reason I'm here. I want to make sure that you're learning and that everything goes smoothly. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you if you're watching this video, because as a member, you're supporting me doing what I'm doing, and I'm really doing my best to support you guys. So if you're watching this, thank you so much, and hit me up if you have a question. Peace.